What's going on, everyone? It's Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Are some of you just tired of seeing other people win contracts, or you're trying to figure out how to cut through all the minutia and win contracts a little faster? Tired of sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out why in the world am I not winning contracts, or why is this process so long? So I want to talk to you all today about how to get contracts faster. So let's get into it. So if you're new here, welcome. This channel talks about government contracting and how to scale and grow your business. And of course, sometimes I sprinkle in a little veteran stuff in there every now and then. But this video is to show you or teach you how to get contracts a lot faster and maybe change up some of your methods. Or maybe if you're brand new, you can start off on the right foot by starting off super fast and getting the money in the door. And that's what the goal always is. So the first thing you should do is register in your local area, whether it's your local state, local county, local city, by just Googling that state and procurement. For example, in Georgia, you could just Google State of Georgia procurement. You could do State of Alaska procurement. You can do Dade County, Florida procurement. And that will take you to a site based on that particular city, state, county, where you can do business with that particular location, that particular agency. And so they'll show you how to do business with, like how to do business with the city of Miami, how to do business with the city of Las Vegas. But basically, it's going to tell you how to do business with them. And then on that website itself, it's also going to show you what opportunities are available for you to bid on. So let's say you're just starting out and you don't really know what industry you want to go into. And you can look through their bid opportunities. Usually it's categorized as bid opportunity or open solicitations or supplier information. And you would just go on that particular portion of the website and look at what they have available. Now, every city and every state is not created equal. You probably won't find the same amount of opportunities in North Dakota that you would in Florida, for example. So don't get mad at me if you're in a state or you're looking in a state that doesn't have a lot of opportunities that you see on the local side. Maybe you need to explore the federal side with those opportunities. But if you're registered in SAM, then you already know how that process works. It can be a very cumbersome process, but you can still do smaller contracts in your local area, even on the federal side. So hear me out. I know that sounds like I kind of just mixed it all up right there, but really contracts that are under $25,000 typically just are a purchase card purchase through that agency, whether it's federal or local. So your best bet is to take advantage of what's called industry days, or how to do business as a vendor in this location day. So your county or your city or your state may have how to do business with this city, how to do business with this county, and then they'll show you exactly what they have available and how to do the micro purchasing, or how to do, sometimes called small dollar contracts, or they might be called under threshold contracts, or they might be called credit card purchase contracts, when they may not even call it a contract. They may just have a threshold of $25,000 or $10,000 or even sometimes $5,000 thresholds, where they can just do a credit card purchase the same way they would do a credit card purchase if they were purchasing from Amazon. So those things don't typically require a whole lot of rigmarole the same way anything that goes out for bid. If it goes out as a solicitation, chances are it's going to be over a certain dollar amount, and that all depends on the agency. So you can't just say if it's over $50,000 it's automatically going to bid. It could be over $5,000 and it goes out for bid, just depending on what that particular department in that particular agency's threshold is. So it all depends. So you just have to know what that agency is working with, and a lot of times they'll share that right there on the website of what their threshold is, what they consider to have to put out for bid, or put out even just for a quote, because it could be, let's say it's under $10,000, they don't need a quote. They can just purchase straight from my company, Foresight Industries, or anything that's $10,001 all the way up to $25,000, they got to get 3 quotes. And anything over $25,001, then they need to put it out for bid, like an official solicitation, where it has to go through a bunch of different hands in order for it to be approved. So sometimes you're better off just communicating with the buyer. And I talk about this in one of my other videos, where the contracting officer versus the buyer. And sometimes you need to have a relationship with both, or especially the buyer, because the buyer is the one that's usually making the decision. So that's a quick way to get involved in, just doing small purchases or purchase orders through that agency. Speaking of purchase orders, if you do end up doing work with an agency and for some reason they don't tell you this, or maybe that person is new in that position at that agency, always make sure you have a purchase order before you execute anything, especially when it comes to products, because sometimes you can, and this is a little side note, a little extra razzle dazzle, but sometimes you can be, approved. You've spoken to the buyer. The buyer says, yes, we do want to buy this camera system from you. you, but you don't have a purchase order. That means that you could potentially have purchased that security system or that camera system for nothing. And then the agency may not be able to get it approved, or they may not be able to purchase it from you. So always make sure you have a purchase order, a PO with the purchase order number to ensure that you are covered and you're able to get paid for whatever it is that agency buys from you, whether it's a document or a service. The next thing would be to build relationships. Going to those industry days, even on the federal side, they have a lot of different types of industry days, and those are typically based on set-asides, based on location, based on agency, based on all types of things. I'm actually going to be going to a tribal conference where you connect with Native American-owned companies. Also, at the same time, in that same location, there's going to be a facility clearance conference. So if you have a company that is a facility management company that has a facility clearance, there's a conference for that. If you're in medical, then there's a conference for that. If you're a SDVOSB, service disabled veteran owned set aside company, there may be a conference for that. So you just always want to kind of keep your eyes open for those types of events. And you can go on Eventbrite. You can go on a website called All Events. You can Google it. You know, sometimes I used to set up alerts on my Google. It's literally google.com/alerts/alerts. And you can just type in what you want the Google alert to trigger and send an email to let you know that any event that's related to, facilities in the city of Atlanta, then I may want to put that as an alert. And then I can, every time that pops up, then I will get an email. So I'll be in the know of when these events coming up. So at these events, you have to make sure that you're networking. You don't want to just, whether it's free or if it's paid, you don't want to just pay, especially, and go there and not come out with something. I'm leaving here with something, okay? That's how I always feel. If I'm paying money, I'm leaving here with something. And that's how your attitude needs to be every time, whether it's you're connecting with the agencies or connecting with the people who are actually at that event as well, that are your peers, the people that are just like you, or maybe they might be a little above you, or whatever the case may be, and you want to make that connection so you guys can do work together. That's very, very important. It's just as important as knowing who is going to be there at that industry day as the agencies. A lot of the agencies will have a booth set up, and you can communicate with them and ask them questions. Now, a lot of times they're going to route you back to the internet, but always have some sort of questions or an ask for that agency. So it behoove you, or it'd be more advantageous for you to know who's going to be at the event, so you know who to talk to and what questions to ask them. That's typical practice. So if there is an event, let's say it's a large event where they're going to be booths set up in different agencies, just ensure you try to get a list of who's going to be there. Now, if it's a how to do business with the city of Atlanta and it's just a little meeting that's going to be in a room, then yeah, it's not going to be the same type of meeting. But just hear that agency out there. They're doing an outreach, and sometimes they call it outreach events as well. They're doing an outreach in order to tell you how to do business with them. So they need people to do business. And so I've been to several of those, and usually they're saying we don't have enough of this industry in this area. We don't have enough local businesses. Everything that is being put out for bid are by out-of-state companies. So they're telling you what their pain points are. And if you have been in the industry, in your industry for a while, you've been in government contracting for a while, maybe you're in a new city or something like that, you want to see how the new city that you're in, it handles business, then you just ask those questions that you already know from maybe wherever you're coming from or from your industry. Like, for example, with like janitorial, for example, we have gone to outreach events with different counties. And, I ask why, if you all are having a pain point with the janitorial services that you are contracting, why are you only going for the lowest bidder? Because typically you get what you pay for, right? And you're not going to always get good contracted workers if you're paying so low, because then the contractor is going to have to pay people very, very low. And then there's not going to be a big pool of very good cleaners that you can choose from when you're only paying a very, very low amount, paying minimum wage. And so they kind of were like, hadn't really thought of that. Maybe we'll change this opportunity to not be lowest bidder, and it will be changed to best quality. So sometimes just you posing the question may make a big difference. And that's why these outreach events are very, very, they could be very, very advantageous. And then you're building a rapport and a relationship with the buyer, with the contracting officer, with everyone who is actually, there to host that event. So it's a really good thing to build those relationships. People always say, build relationships, build relationships, build relationships. And for those who know my story, that was very hard for me at the beginning of this this government contracting journey, because I did not want to build a single relationship, which sounds crazy now. 8 years in my company, but over 10 years in the industry. I didn't want to build relationships, but really sometimes relationships precede you. People will talk about you, hopefully in a good way, or sometimes they'll talk about you in a bad way, talk about your company before you enter the room. And that's what you want. You want people to know what you do right off the top of their head. They're like, oh yeah, Sheena does YouTube, or Sheena has a facility management company. I want that to be it rolls right off the tongue, that people know exactly what I do. And so you want that same thing, that same type of rapport with contracting officers and with buyers of that particular agency that you're trying to do business with. Now, you might find out you don't want to do business with that agency because they don't have it together. And it seems like it may not be a thing that's a target in your mind right now, because maybe you're just starting out. But if you've been in your industry for a while, sometimes these little things become big things. So if this agency is saying that they don't have an accounts payable person, I probably won't do business with you, because the accounts payable person is the most important person to me. I mean, because that's where your money's coming from. And so if they haven't figured that out, or they don't have someone that can fill in that gap, you might have a delay in pay, which changes everything. Like it might be a dream contract, but then you have a delay in pay, and that changes how you're even able to function and handle your own, affairs in your real life, like your actual bills for your livelihood. And so you don't want to get into, you're basically dealing with their problems now, and it becoming your problem. So things like that you find out when you go to these smaller outreach events. And there's outreach events for larger companies as well. A lot of really large companies will have their own outreach events where they have huge opportunities that they've already won, or they're slotted to perform big, especially in my industry in construction facilities. They're usually looking for tradesmen. They're looking for welders, drywall people, floor installers, HVAC installers and repairers. It's an outreach event, and they're letting you know, this is what we need, this is what we want, and this is how you can work with us. So those can be a fast track to contracting, where you don't even necessarily need to register in SAM. You might not even need to register it locally. You can just register with a larger company who is having an outreach event. So that could be just automatically to the money. And so in my previous video that I did, an interview with Yasin Mohammed, he talks about he is a procurement officer above the procurement officers in the DMV area, and he's been in procurement for over 30 years. He says, go to the pre-bid meetings. Go to the meetings, go to the meetings, go to the meetings. If your industry calls for you to go to pre-bid meetings or pre-bid conferences or whatever the case may be, show up, because your name, this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. This is someone who's actually awarded contracts, okay? This is not just Sheena talking, but he says that when you go to these events, that the agency starts to recognize you, especially if you continuously go to the same city events, county, whatever. Then you get to know the contracting officers and the buyers, and they see your name, they see you putting in bids, they're gonna remember you if you talk to them and you ask questions. And sometimes it can be a little funny acting when you go to these site visits. They may not want to answer questions and that kind of thing, but if you're constantly showing up, they're going to recognize you. I mean, it's inevitable, especially if you're working in the same industry. If you're always going to the litter pickup site visits, then eventually they're going to start recognizing you. So it's a good idea to show up and be seen in a good way, and then meeting up with those who are actually showing up as well, those who are your peers that you can possibly do business with. And you can kind of pick out and feel who's who. Some of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts, me being an introvert, okay? Contrary to popular belief, it's kind of challenging for me to really just walk up to people and start talking to them. But, I'm there, I'm leaving here with something, okay? So I'm there to try to make friends by way of business. Basically, I'm trying business friends. I'm not trying to make friends, I'm trying to make business friends. So possibly we can work together, or we can, partner or something. And then you can just try to see what the vibes are, okay? Because just again, I always talk about just not getting a contract and then just subbing it out to any old body because you don't know that person. But it's a good idea to partner with people that you've already at least met because you don't know what that vibe is, you know. And I'm all about the vibe. If it's not right, we're not working together. I don't care how much money it is. We have to vibe. We have to connect. There has to be a synergy. If not, it never works out. I'll say, you know what? Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's different this time. It never, ever, ever works out. It's almost like the launch shows me that this person was not for me. And it blows up in a massive way. But anyway, I digress. So just want to give you a couple of tips on how to kind of get to contracts a little faster. I hope this helped because these small things can turn into, you know, a massive 10x of your business, and you don't even know that it's going to do that. It could pay out today, it could pay out next week, it could pay out next year. The dividends for these few tips. So in my GovConNOW course, I teach about federal contracting, local contracting, and corporate contracting. I also have a special section for my veterans, and you have what you get with the course is unlimited access to me. You get forever access to the course. And also, you get access to my past performance if you're in my same industry. So a lot of people really, really love that. And we have our circle community where we share information, share tips, help each other, partner up. There's a lot of meetups going on with different locations in our circle community. All that is linked in the description. And please, please, please like, comment, share, subscribe. It really, really helps the algorithm when you do that. Share this video with someone who may need it. And then also just drop in the comments what you think I should talk about next. I want to make sure that I'm delivering the best value to you guys and that I'm not just, you know, running in circles, just talking about the same stuff. Or if you have a specific thing that you think that I can maybe bring someone on the channel, I do my best to try to, if it's something I'm not too familiar with, or I want to get an expert, I try to bring those experts on to my channel so they can speak to it from their perspective. Make sure you check out my live videos. They are a bunch of fun. I have a great time doing my live videos. Or if there's anyone who has recently won a contract or a unique contract, or you won a bunch of contracts because you watched your girl on YouTube and you want to be interviewed, please, please, please drop your information in the comments. And until next time, y'all, it's your favorite veteran.